Welcome back to the Naughty Corner. I figured I'd do a small video sharing some of my thoughts and opinions on smart voting. Unlike the IPCA report series, these are my own thoughts. There's nothing well researched or academic about them, so don't feel like you have to agree. I'm just sharing what's been knocking about in my head for a little bit lately. So what is it? Smart voting. It's something I've been hearing for years, but a lot more this year. Effectively, it's just the wasted vote narrative by a different name, the inverse if you will. Instead of wasting your vote, you're being smart. In a nutshell, the concept is that if you vote for a minor party which doesn't make the 5% MMP threshold to get into Parliament, then your vote has been wasted, and what's worse, the establishment mainstream parties like National and Labour will get more seats. They don't get more seats in the sense of picking up your vote, but rather because the number of seats in Parliament is a constant. They will proportionally get more seats if the other elected parties have less due to votes they may have otherwise acquired, instead going to minor parties which never made it in. I've listened to various sources saying that this sentiment of voting smart for ACT or New Zealand First or even National currently being shared around various freedom community groups is of a nefarious origin. Some are saying that it all originated from a bad actor or actors who have long had personal ties to National and championed them for many years. Honestly, I don't really care about all that. I'm not educated enough on the matter, having only just developed an interest in all this voting stuff a few short years back, but also by principle. I don't care if it's a nefarious individual that's the source. Bad people can be right sometimes and good people can be wrong. What matters is their argument. In short, there's a truth about the smart voting rhetoric in the sense that voting for one of the minor parties will make it more likely one of the two major parties will muster sufficient votes to rule without a coalition. It's also smart in that it might keep one of the parties you really don't like out of Parliament, or that because at least you'll know the party you voted for ended up with some seats. By that logic, however, why not just vote for National and Labour themselves? That said, I think you're better off casting a dumb vote, and for dignity's sake we'll refer to it as a principled vote henceforth. The main reason for this is that I don't trust any of the establishment parties that have formed our government for many years now. As I made abundantly clear in my IPCA report series, I hold them all accountable for not opposing the injustice that took place on their lawn. The fact is that even if not currently in power, they still receive our taxpayer funding. They're not paid to just sit there and do nothing as Parliament convenes. They're supposed to be an opposing counterbalance to the party or coalition of parties that are in power, and so if the country's ended up in dire straits, they are partly responsible for that. Not as much as the ruling party, but still responsible in part. They'll all have their strategies to try and get the freedom lovers vote. I think the most effective I've seen was Winston Peters saying he was tricked by Labour and regrets aligning with them in 2016. That's a politician of almost 50 years experience telling you he was tricked as if he didn't know what empowering an overt socialist would lead to. If he's that silly, I don't see why I should be rooting for him to have a hand in running our country. Unfortunately, he isn't that silly. He's a consummate politician. That brings me to my second point actually, and the reason I would call voting for a minor party a principled vote rather than a wasted one. If the politicians who are changing their tune now, effectively playing the political game and telling you what you want to hear, receive your vote, then you are encouraging that behaviour. It's got to be hard running as a minor party, taxing in many ways. Even if they don't get in, sending a vote their way shows you support the principles they stood for. Voting for political chameleons, by contrast, is the same thing but for them. If your vote is directed by trying to work the political system rather than principles, then you'll foster a culture that encourages politicking leaders rather than principled ones. Lastly, I've long heard people say that voting for a minor party is a wasted vote because they simply won't get over the line. I feel, however, that if everyone just dropped this assumption, it would cease to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, and we, the populace, would no longer be prisoners of our own device. Of course, the media feeds into this mindset. They only give significant coverage to the two major parties. Likewise, polls are used to discourage you from voting the way they don't want you to by making it look hopeless. Remember the 2016 election in the US? Many polls had Hillary at over 90%, and look what happened there. The citizens of that country weren't discouraged by the polls, turned out to vote despite them, and the rest is history. So hopefully that leads us into being able to close on a more optimistic note. From my position as a bit of an outside to all this, the potential coalition parties, ACT, New Zealand First, etc., all look like controlled opposition to me, and if they're not already, they soon will be if they can be used to vacuum up all of the anti-establishment ballots. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, that's not my business. I just want to free you up to be able to vote for whoever you really do support, whoever resonates with you the most. In 2018, Giorgia Meloni's party, Brothers of Italy, took a mere 4.3% of the national vote, but when Mario Draghi's government fell apart in 2022 due to a national perception it was an expression of power held by financial elites, Meloni's party clinched victory in a snap election and she is now the Prime Minister of Italy. We could see the same kind of surprising victory here in New Zealand for one of the little guys. I'm not here to sell you hopium, I don't think we will see that happen, but I'm not going to contribute to putting one of the establishment parties back in power. They've done wrong by their people in recent years and I'm not going to reward them for it. So even if it doesn't get them over the line, my vote is going to one of the minor parties this year, with a clean conscience and appreciation for the effort they're putting in to change our country for the better. I feel like New Zealand has been on a downward trend recently, and if we don't make an effort to make some serious change, a real shake-up, then we might lose the opportunity to do that for some time to come. Like I said, this is certainly me spitting my opinion, and not some careful research project. So whether you agree or disagree, have a great day and feel free to leave a comment below.